Hey.
We're talking about a topic this week that I think is interesting for a lot of people, especially anyone who might be a content creator. But for your audience specifically, service
Mm,
providers and coaches,
hmm
if you are following Jana's capsule blog process and you're writing a limited number of blogs on your website, 12 to
hmm
20, you might feel, and I feel like this is probably an objection that comes up inside of your sales calls and
hmm
communities, but you might feel like, oh, I'm limited in the amount of social media content I can produce because I don't know how to go and take this one blog post and then make
hmm
sales with it, or
Yep.
this 12 blog posts and then turn around and make sales with it. So
Yep.
we're talking today about 33 ways to make sales with one blog post on repeat.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And you just so happen to write a freebie about this as well. So if anyone wants
Mhm.
that here at the top
Just
of the
so happened.
show, it is in the description. We'll mention it
Yes.
again towards the end, I'm sure. But Jana, can you tell me more about it?
Yes. So in HLC, high leverage content, we write, like you said, a capsule library of blog posts that are high converting based on the things that our audience needs to know about our offers and about us and about what we do to feel ready to buy, right?
Mhm.
And then the next part of it basically is that we use those blog posts on repeat. So instead of writing a new blog every single week or every single month, we take the capsule library that we've already built and we use it to make sales.
Okay.
And that basically happens in like three different ways. And there's different workflows inside of all the different ways. But there's repurposing, which you kind of mentioned, where you can repurpose your content into more micro pieces of content for things like emails that you need to your list and social posts and even like bigger pieces of content. Like you could, repurpose a blog post as a podcast episode or a YouTube episode or as a talking topic if you're going to speak at a local library or whatever, right? So there's lots of ways to repurpose.
Yeah.
And then the second way is to reshare. So instead of just writing a blog post and sharing it when you put it out there and then never sharing it again with your audience, you want to go back to the beginning again and share it like all the time. So if you have like 18 blog posts and you share one per week with your audience, every 18 weeks you're sharing a blog post, right? And you're
Yeah.
cycling through them. The third way that we use our blog content is really what this list is about, this 33 ways to use your blog, one blog to sell. 33, like one blog and 33 different ways to sell with it, is about using it in your sales process to make your sales process easier, lighter, basically to shorten the sales cycle. Because if you think about it, you're writing blog posts that cover the things people need to feel ready to buy.
Yeah.
So if you share them with them more regularly and you're using them in your sales process, they're going to feel more ready to buy and they're going to feel that faster, right?
Yeah.
So it's really a very basic concept in that way. And I put together a list of different ways that I and my students are using the blogs in order to sell. And the idea is that when you write a blog post, it's so different than writing a social post, right? Like when you write a social post, if you are not, I don't want to say lucky because it's not luck, it's skill and it's preparation and stuff, right? But
Yeah.
if you're lucky, if you just want to use that term loosely, you could make a sale with it today. But then it gets lost in a fast-moving news feed and you have to put something else out tomorrow if you want to make another sale with social media, right? Because
Yeah.
it's gone. But with a blog post, you get your cake and you get to eat it too. You can make, and a lot of people still think of a blog as like a long game, but it's really not the way I teach it. You can literally make sales with your blog on the day that you publish it and share it with your audience, or share it in general if you're building an audience. And then you can make another sale with it a day later, and another sale with it a week later, and another sale with it a week after that, and then two more sales a month later. And then you can make sales with that same blog post over and over again for months and years instead of having to write something new all the time. And that's one of the beautiful things about long form content that's on your own website that's more searchable is it keeps coming up for people, right? Um, so all of that to be said, that's really what I did is I made this list of different ways that you can use your blog in your sales process to speed up your sales and to make your sales easier and feel better for you too. When I say feel better, I mean like when you get people on sales calls, if they read your blogs, they're not going to have as many questions. You're not going to feel like you're convincing them as much, things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I put that list together and it's I made it a freebie so people can get it for free. And it's a guide. So it has a little bit of context about that. And then it has the list. And the list is 33 ways, and it's really awesome, I think. And I hope people like it. And we linked it in the show notes of in the description below this video if anybody wants to grab it. But that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. We're not going to go through all 33 ways, but we might go
No
through some of them just
way.
to talk about it.
Yeah, no way we could even get through 33 if we wanted to. Um,
I think we could if we wanted to, but we don't want
I mean, if it was
to.
a firing hose.
Yeah.
Let's just choose a couple more meaningful ways that people could take a blog post and
Mhm.
just generate some sales. So,
Yeah.
um, I just published a blog post earlier today, Jana. What do I do? I didn't actually publish one earlier today, but let's say I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
What's something you would tell me?
So if you wrote that blog post the way I teach people to write them, which I'm sure you did, in a way that's high converting, meaning that you shared things in that blog post that people are going to read and think, huh, I think I want to join Heather's Pinterest membership, right? Or whatever that offer is that that you talked about in the blog post.
Mhm.
Then now it's time to get it in front of people who are going to think that, right? Because you published it today. And again, a lot of people these days, they still think of Pinterest as, I mean, Pinterest, sorry, a blog as like a long game, meaning I'm just going to write this blog and then it's going to sit on my website and I'm going to wait for Google to pick it up, you know? And sometimes that happens and sometimes it never does. Um, but actually, you could share it today and you could make sales with it today. And so an example of that would be number two out of my list of 33, which is where inside HLC I teach you how to pull a gem, we call it a gem pull, out of that blog post and turn it into a sales email where you send it out to your email list, whether you have 10 people on your email list or 10,000 people or anywhere in between.
Mhm.
And you have a call to action to do the next step in your sales process, which could be book a call with me, like a sales call, or it could be book your VIP day with me, or it could be apply to work with me, or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
So an example of that, like my student Angelica, who is a website designer, she recently filled out the sales tracker form in HLC and explained that she had pulled a gem out of a blog post, sent it to her email list with a call to action to do the next step in her sales process, which for her was to book a sales call. And a person did exactly that from her email list. So she literally published the blog and then she pulled a gem out of it. I don't think she shared it that day, but she shared it that same week. And it went out and someone read it, followed the call to action, and booked a $1,400 website
Nice.
day, VIP day with her. Yeah. So you can literally take something out of the blog post, especially if you wrote it to be high converting to begin with, and share it today as soon as you publish it or in the same week that you publish it. Send it out with a call to action, and people can follow that call to action. And if that call to action is to buy your thing, they can do that, right? And so
Yeah.
that's something that I saw, in action with Angelica, and that's number two on my list of 33 things. So that's one way that you can literally take a blog post today that you wrote today, or that you wrote last week, or that you wrote 3 months ago, or whatever,
Yeah.
and make a sale with it today.
I love that. I have at least four unread emails that I have bookmarked to reply to by Friday. I usually
Mhm.
clear my inbox out at the beginning of the week and I put specific emails that I need to reply to that are not like super pressing, but probably should get to them by the end of the week.
Mhm.
Sent an email out to my list yesterday because yesterday is my email day for here's my video, it's published, go watch it.
Mhm. Yep.
And I got a few email replies back from last week's gym pool email, and I bookmarked them to reply to by the end of the week. That's what's going on in my head. And I have a
Mhm.
feeling when I open them up, they are going to be things like, where can I find the link for this? Or do you
Mhm.
offer it for this platform or that platform? Or what about this? Or what about that? It's almost always additional, like inquiring for additional information.
Yep.
I started incorporating this in after you had mentioned it, um, I don't know, maybe a year ago,
Mhm.
as something that I should incorporate into my email strategy just to try
Yep.
it out. And I did.
Yep.
And it really truly has worked so well. So every single week I have three emails that go out. One of them is the, hey, I have a YouTube video, you should watch it.
Mhm.
That's it. It's very low pressure. The
Mhm.
second one is gym pull. And then the third one is a straight sales email where I am selling the thing that's connected to the topic for this week
So
inside
good.
membership.
Yep. It's really
And
good.
those emails get me replies every single time of people
Hmm.
inquiring further, wanting more
Yep.
information. Is this included? Is that included? Can you help me with this?
Yep. Which is, these are like buying behavior questions. They're questions people
Like,
are asking in order to feel like they're ready to buy. Yep.
love it.
Yep. Really good. I like it. I love that you're using the strategy. That's awesome.
I am.
Yeah, and I actually have lessons in HLC now that are like how to start and grow your email list and what to send them. And the
Perfect.
what to send them lesson, these are in the supplemental materials, basically lays out that strategy. It lays out a 2 email per week strategy that's similar to what you just described,
Yeah.
that I had recommended to you. So good.
Yeah, I love that. I also take your
Awesome.
coaching advice, Jana.
Oh, thanks.
Okay,
Amazing.
what would you say to me if I said I get a lot of DMs, because I do, of
Hmm.
people asking for questions? Is that
Hmm.
in your list of items of like how to use a blog post for sales?
I think it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Like if you get DMs from people and they're asking you to kind of like if they can pick your brain kind of thing, you're like, "Oh, I have a
I
question
do
about
get.
Pinterest for you," or "I have a question about that." Um, one of the ways of the 33 ways to make a sale with one blog post is to, when you see those questions from people, think to yourself, "Do I have a blog post about this?"
Hmm.
And if you do, send them that blog post because if they ask you, like, let's say one of us gets a question from someone that's like, how much time should I plan on spending on Pinterest like every month if I buy if I buy your course, how long is it going to take me? Like how much
I
time
do
is it
get
going to
that
take me
question.
every month, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a blog post about that, you can answer them back in a variety of ways. You can give them a very basic answer if you feel comfortable doing that and say, but it really depends on what your strategy is and how your business is set up. So I wrote a blog post about it that goes into more detail about that, and you'll be able to read it and get a better sense based on, your business particulars of like how much time you should be budgeting. You link them to that blog post. Now, that blog post, when you wrote it, if you wrote it the HLC way, isn't just going to give the answer. It's going to give the answer, but it's going to do it in a way that walks them down that path toward wanting to buy your offer. And so you're giving them an answer, but you're also setting them up to have the desire to buy and to answer those questions that they need answers to feel ready to buy. And so by the end of that blog post, maybe even before they're done reading it, they're going to be like, okay, cool. I feel comfortable with this. I get it. I see that she's the expert, all
Yep.
those things. And they're going to go ahead and follow the call to action in that blog post to buy, or if you have a, more of like a VIP day type of thing, maybe you do a sales call for it. Usually I think people just sell VIP days actually. So if it's more of like a done with you, 3 month like coaching package or something, maybe you do a sales call. Or maybe somebody's reading that blog post and they think to themselves, okay, yes, I'm ready based on what they're reading. And they just go up to your work with me directory on your blog, hit the offer, and go ahead and buy it, right? So, yes, that's in there somewhere. I can't remember what number it is of my 33 ways to make a sale, but one of them is like when someone asks you a question, which is basically like a pick my brain question via a DM, let's say on Instagram or wherever, instead of just answering them, um, think about whether you have a blog post for that. And if you start getting a lot of questions and you don't have a blog post for it, then maybe you should have a blog post for it. And again, it's not just a blog post there to answer the question, which in and of itself would be valuable because that saves you time. It's a blog post that you specifically wrote using my method to give the answer, but also write it in a way that is creating the demand, the desire, and the trust that they need so that by the end they're going to actually want to buy your thing. They're not just going to be like, okay, great, thanks for the answer. Right. So,
Got it. I love
yeah.
that. Um, I really should employ that strategy because I do get a lot of people asking questions in DMs and
It's easy to forget because it feels like the easiest, fastest way to just answer them.
yeah.
But if you have a blog that's set up this way, like it's actually doing them a good service to give them a more nuanced answer. And we don't have time to give everyone a more nuanced answer. So
Mhm.
they can read the blog, get the more nuanced answer, and um, then they'll have more of what they need. And maybe they start binging other blog posts. And again, with the HLC method, if they're doing that, that's even better because that means they're getting a bunch of different things that they need to feel ready to buy. And they're going to be even more raring and ready to go and ready to hit that buy button.
It's building trust, like we talk about quite often, of giving them maybe a short personalized answer, but then saying,
Mhm.
but I've also written more about this here because chances are they
Mhm.
haven't told you their full circumstances. They
Right. And you don't
rarely
necessarily
do.
want them to in a DM either. I mean, maybe you
Yeah.
do, but most people don't.
And
Yeah.
maybe you cover more that is going to cross over, some other things to consider. When I talk to
Yeah.
people about workflows, they almost never consider setting up their Canva account as something that's going to make their workflow faster,
Yep.
or setting up a simple spreadsheet and making sure all their links are in there and updated as
Mhm.
part of their workflow.
Right.
There's so many little pieces that go into a marketing strategy that a lot of people don't even consider until they start going. And then they're like, oh, I need to buy this tool, or I need to get that, or this is going to help me. Let me go spend money on that. When in reality, if you just had everything prepared and you knew what your workflow needed to be,
Hmm.
probably don't need to spend extra money on all of these things. And I'm
Hmm.
speaking to this from Pinterest
Yeah.
flow
Yeah.
experience. But
Right. And
um
if I were to send you a DM and be like, Heather, like, what's a good like pinning workflow?
it's gonna
Like, you could tell me all the things you just told me a second ago, or you could send me to a blog that really gives
yeah.
me the actual, like, more nuanced answer.
And the
And also
question,
sells your offer and gets them wanting to jump in and actually, pay you inside the membership to learn how to implement what
yeah.
you're showing them, right? Yeah.
And the question, at least this specific question for me, is almost always answered with another question. Heather, what's a
Yeah.
workflow? Well,
Right.
Jana, how do you create content?
Right.
At what point do you create Pinterest pins?
Right.
There's
Exactly. It's like
so
questions. Yeah.
much to take into consideration that you can't
Yeah.
cover in a DM. And you most certainly shouldn't be covering in a DM unless
Exactly.
someone is paying you to be in your DMs.
Right. And that leads me to you and I actually have a video about this, which we can link in the description as well. We did a live stream where we talked about what we do when people ask to pick our brains.
Yeah.
And I'm going to link that because outside of this conversation we're having today about 33 ways to use one blog post to
Hmm.
make sales or how to make 33 plus sales with one blog post that you wrote once kind of thing. Separate from that conversation, generally speaking, I have always used two strategies when people ask me to pick my brain. One of them is what we just described, sending them to a
Yeah.
blog post that I know is going to give them a good answer, but also and serve them well, and it's free content, but also it's going to set them up to want to buy my offer. Or the other strategy I've used is setting up a link where someone can pay me $99. It used to be, now it's $199 because I was getting too many of them for that for that price. Where you can spend an hour on the call with me and I'll actually ask you those questions and give you answers that are more interactive based on that conversation.
Yeah.
So that's another way to handle that, and I'll link that in the description because it is a good conversation to for people who get that a lot. And I know there's certain types of work where you get a lot of like those kinds of questions. Pick my brain. And I know for your Pinterest managers who hang out with you, oh my God, Pinterest managers, we get so many of those, so many like rando questions about Pinterest where people just want you to give them an answer.
Yeah. And honestly, I've probably given it in the past if
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
you know, wanted to do a little bit of legwork and go find it.
Hmm.
But
And
yeah,
also, in HLC, I teach a blog strategy, right? And like 90% of my students are writing blog posts.
yeah,
But the HLC strategy also works. The capsule blog library works for YouTube. It works for podcasts. And so if someone is listening and they have YouTube or they have a podcast or they want to, you can also have a capsule library of those types of things that you can send to people too. Like, you could very easily have a YouTube video that answers the question that people ask you when they're DMing you, asking you a question about how to, that's really a pick my brain question. So you can use the same strategy if you have YouTube or podcast episodes that give deeper answers to those questions too.
okay, so far we've talked about the method of um gem pull from emails,
Hmm.
sending a blog post in a DM
Yep.
as a
Pick my
follow-up.
brain. Yep.
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 What about if you are at an event? Is there a way to use a blog post if you are at an event speaking and people
Yeah.
are in person, maybe asking to pick your brain? Or because at events we're all busy and conversations are so tight, like there's not a lot of time
Yeah.
for these kinds of conversations. So how
Right.
might
Like
one,
a networking event, either
yeah,
in person or on even an online one.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I can't remember what number that is on my list of 33 ways to use your blog to make sales.
but it's in
Um,
there.
it's in there somewhere. And um, I know I have a student who has done this and done it really successfully where they'll send like follow-up emails to people that they meet in person who are either potential referral partners for them. So
Beautiful.
this works really well for an example for like health coaches who have like other like medical practitioners, whether it's physicians or nurse practitioners or
Yeah.
dietitians or whoever who refer clients to them. Or it could be going to a networking event where you're actually interacting directly with people who could be your client. It could be either way. But I've seen people follow up with a note to them, whether it's an email or a thank you note. Usually it's going to be an email and say, we talked about this during our quick conversation and we didn't have a lot of time to go deep on it, but I wanted to share this blog post with you because it might be something that you could share with people who ask you that question if it's a referral partner, for example, right?
Yep.
Or it might help you with that thing you asked me about that we didn't really have time nor the privacy to discuss. So sending a blog post, again, not just a blog post that answers a question, or gives some information that the person's going to be able to use, but also sets people up to want to buy your offer or to see the value of your offer so that they can send referrals to you directly or to even that blog post if they have people who ask that question of them a lot.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a really good way um, to leverage a blog for sure to make sales. And again, this is a way where you can leverage the same blog that you already wrote to make
Yep.
sales again and again and again, right? So you can literally make sales with your blog the day you publish it. And then if you're thinking in these terms regularly, you can always be thinking about how can I share these high converting blog posts with people more in the context of real conversations. And this is an example of that.
I brought this one
So,
up because I was speaking at in a small group last night. I was invited to speak to a small group of jewelers.
oh, cool.
And a couple different times I mentioned, yeah, I have a blog post on that. I should find the link for that. Because they were asking really great questions and I knew I had content on it.
Hmm.
But after the event was over, a few of the jewelers went and followed me on social media because that was one of my last calls to action. Like, if you do have questions, feel free to come find me on Instagram. I'm around,
Hmm.
and I'm sure that there was a bookmarking of my website last night after the event, and especially
Yeah.
because there were a few really specific questions, and I was like, yeah, I have a blog post on that, and I
Hmm.
didn't have an answer for it right away.
Yep.
So I know there probably were some people that
Yeah.
pop over to the website.
Yeah. I see that happen in like Zoom chats a lot too. Like if you're
Mhm.
doing, let's say you're doing a training and someone asks you a related question, but it's not really relevant to that particular training,
Yeah,
right? It's like you don't want to stop and derail the training and answer that person's question, but you can say just exactly that. Be like, oh yeah, that's related. It's not something I'm going to be covering today during this training,
yeah,
but let me drop you a blog post that answers the question, or let me screenshot, your question, and after this, I'll send you an email with the link to that blog post.
yeah.
Or you can even do things like sometimes I have like kind of sometimes I do short links or try to keep my blog post slugs, my URLs, easy for
Like
me
a
to
pretty link.
remember. You could use Pretty Link, but like for example, I have a blog post that's called The Unforced SEO Strategy that got me booked out with clients. And I know that if someone asks me during a Zoom chat, like, oh, how does SEO fit into all of this? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great question.
Hmm.
We don't have time to cover it, in detail today in this training. But if you go to janaomedia.com/unforced dash SEO, you can read my whole philosophy on it and exactly how I teach my students the concept of unforced SEO, and it's going to give
Yeah,
you your answer, right? And I would not be surprised if during that somebody is literally multitasking, listening to the rest of my presentation, but also has another tab open right now where they're looking at that blog post.
for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
I
Um,
definitely think that happens.
yeah. Yep. I have another good one.
Okay, let's hear it.
So another one, and again, I'm looking at some of my notes and I don't remember what number this is. I think it's in the 20s somewhere in my list of 33 ways to make a sale with one blog post that you
There's
already
a
wrote.
lot of ways.
Yeah, I think it's in the 20s. Is one that and I have some examples too in this to like help people like really see examples, which is what I'm kind of pulling from. So again, you can go to the description of this and get the link to get the actual like full list of 33 ways to make sales with the blog post that you've already written. Um, but this was I think of my HLC student Jennifer, who's a burnout recovery coach.
Yeah.
She recently signed a client into her one-to-one coaching package, which I think is like around $3,000. I think it is for like a 90-day package. And she told me that on the sales call, she said literally, I'm going to read the quote. I could hear her repeating back to me some of my own messaging that was literally a blog post. She had no objections on the call, which was just a dream to me. This is what she wrote to me in the sales tracker form that she filled out to report the $3,000 sale. So this person had read a couple of her blog posts prior to getting on the discovery call with her that she'd signed up for, and she was like pre-sold. So instead of having a bunch of like questions and Jennifer feeling like she had to convince this person, the person literally came to the call and was like, "Oh, I have like one question," but it wasn't even an objection. It was just like a logistics question. And then she was like, "Okay, when can we start?" Right? How amazing is that? Another student of mine, Pam, recently experienced a very similar thing with her package, and hers is a really high ticket package. Hers is like a $15,000 coaching package. So that someone came to the call and was just like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't actually have any questions for you. I just knew that we needed to have this call so you could tell me when your next opening is, and I'm like ready to sign because I read all your blog posts." Um, so you can count on your blog to do this kind of organically, because if someone signs up for a discovery call with you, maybe they're kind of like vetting you before the call,
It could
or
be.
you can kind of grab the bull by the horns and be a little bit more assertive about it, if you will, or a little more, let's say, proactive. Maybe that's a nicer word. And when you send them the confirmation email for the booking for your sales call, you could say something like, to prepare for the call, I recommend that you read these 3 blog posts of mine,
Yeah.
and then put the titles and the links. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it definitely increases the odds that they will. Because if you think about it, whenever I sign up for a sales call or a discovery call with someone, I'm excited to work with them usually. And so I'm already binging their content. But if you actually tell me like which pieces of content to start with to binge, like I'm all for that, right? And I'll definitely do it.
Yeah.
Not everyone will, but some people will. Same thing with podcasts or YouTubes. You could totally do that. So that's definitely another way to incorporate your blog posts or your long form content, let's say, into your sales process in a very like proactive way, where recommending like certain blog posts that you think would be good for them to read. And you can automate that, or you could even do it as more of like a high touch thing. So Pam, with her $15,000 health coaching package, she might want to do this a little bit more intentionally, where instead of just sending the same 3 blog posts to someone, maybe she takes what she knows about them already from their intake form or something, the form where they applied to work with her,
Yeah.
and she looks through and she recommends 3 specific blog posts for them to read. You could do it either way. You could automate it, or you could actually be like more discerning and like pick the ones that you think would be good for that person to
Yeah.
read prior to the discovery call.
I think that's really smart too. And it's not like a trickery thing. It's just preparing them for the call
Yeah, no.
because we don't know how much they've prepared for calls. And oftentimes I find that the calls that get canceled or ghosted or people that don't show up, they had very unclear answers in their booking forms anyways.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they wanted. They put a lot of NAs in there. They were unsure on the budget that they wanted to spend.
Yeah, yeah.
And those people oftentimes don't show up. So I feel like maybe they were booking out of like oh, this is something I should consider. Let me book a call. Then they don't show up. But if they would have been properly prepared through blog posts or otherwise, could reduce the friction.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It could definitely increase your show up rate, but I think more importantly, it increases it gives them more information about your offer in advance.
Yeah.
And it's a little different than a sales page, because it's giving the way that we structure our blog post in HLC is we're giving lots of value, but we're also not just randomly giving value. We're giving
Yeah.
value in a specific way that sets them up to want to buy your offer, and to see the value
Yeah.
of the work that you do inside your paid offer. So it's really like the best of both worlds. You're giving them generous information, but it's not just generous information that they're now just going to be like, okay, now I have what I need. I don't need to hire her. It's specifically engineered to prepare them to want to hire you. So it's
Yeah.
perfect for this purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those are some
Well,
examples. I think we covered 4 of them, right? And
we
what's
did
33
cover
minus
four.
4? There's 29 more in my list, so if anybody wants to grab it, add your name and email on the landing page that's linked in our description, and I'll give you the list of all 33 ways.
All
And
30.
I should probably also point out, this is a good moment to say this, nobody does all these things,
No.
right? Like it's not a list of like every single thing that you now need to go and like put into your business. You should read through the list of 33 and just pick one or two that feel like they would feel really good for you and try out those to one or two. Like, don't think you have to do all 33.
Yeah. I think it's a good call out because a lot of people might even read the list of 33 and be like, huh, I could probably do three of these. Or
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Like
like
some
a
of them will
mind
fit in
jogger
your
of like,
system and some of them won't. Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
oh,
Mhm.
I definitely should start
Yeah.
doing that again. I was doing that before, or just a reminder of what they're capable of doing, like how they,
Yeah. What's possible. Yeah. And
yeah.
really, like in practice, there's a lot of examples in this document that I have, but like my students who make 33 sales or more sales from one blog post, because that's what this is all about, is like you create a blog post once and then you can keep using it to sell in different ways over and over again.
Mhm.
Excuse me. The ones that are actually doing this really successfully, they're not doing all 33 things. They're just finding one or two things that work really well for them
Yeah.
and doing them over and over again, right? And that's how they make 33 sales or whatever it is, right? 12 sales,
Yeah.
100 sales, whatever it is, from one blog post. It's not like literally for every single blog you have to do 33 things and you'll make 33 sales. I mean, it's not that literal. It's like
No,
find a couple things that work for you and incorporate them, maybe even automate them to some degree into your sales process, and you will see your conversions increase.
I love that. I love that. If you're concerned about sales, if you're concerned about how you're going to generate sales, I think that this is a good place for you to start. And next week, we are chit-chatting about what to do when people want to pick your brain, which
Oh,
just
we
so
are?
we talked about that in this call, in this live
Oh my
today.
gosh. Oh, okay. So good. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to go deeper on it next week.
We're going to go deeper on it next week. And
Okay.
we will see you back here next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern time for what to do when people want to pick your brain.
Yep. And our team is actually scheduling a bunch of upcoming live streams. So
Mhm.
anyone who comes to us every week and hangs out with us, by this weekend, you should have like a bunch of different ones that you can hit RSVP on. So you can, by this weekend, there'll be a bunch of live streams that are coming up, and then you can RSVP yes, so
Yeah,
that you're notified of any of the ones that you particularly find interesting that you know you want to come and watch. So,
good deal.
yep.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week. Bye. And we're out. Okay,
That was
great.
good. That was better than I thought it was going to be.